know him, you don't know wrestling. This man has held 6 different belts. The only team to win all 3 major belts, the Crockett Cup. This man's a legend in his sport.
How am I not going to like this guy, right? He knows everything.
Now, I want to ask you one question.
Welcome to another edition of HeroTV. Today I'm with my co-host Paul Myers. Good evening. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. It's great to be here. A beautiful site. We're in the studios, and our guest today, I'll let you do the introductions.
Our guest today is former Major League ball player. He had 764 career hits. He had 102 career home runs, a .264 average. He was comeback player of the year in 1977. 10-year career, Mr. Eric Soderholm.
Man, John, I should have hired you as my agent, man. You know more about me than I know.
Well, I'm still available. You know, we're still available for hire. Eric, first of all, thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to be here. As I told you before the interview, I was a big fan. I still am a big fan of yours from your playing career.
Well, thank you.
So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, as a major leaguer, do you remember your first hit and do you remember your first home run?
Yeah, they were both the same. Diego Segui, Oakland A's, high fastball, hit it out left center field, and pretty sure that was my, if not my first hit, it was my second one. I can't remember if I got a base hit before that or not. But yeah, Diego Segui, and pretty exciting moment, man. I'm telling you, it was. I felt like I was floating as I was rounding the bases there after hitting your first home run in the big leagues.
Well, I'd imagine it's every kid's dream just to play in the big leagues, and let alone, you had a nice career out of it.
Well, thanks. As a kid, it was just I loved the game. From Little League all the way through junior college, just look forward to getting out there every day and followed the Yankees a little bit when I was a kid, Mantle and Maris and that kind of thing, but really, as a kid, I mean, everybody says, oh, I dreamed about being a Major League Baseball player. I can't honestly say that I did. I just enjoyed playing it so much. And I think that's the advice I want to give to young kids nowadays. Just go for it. Just play without the expectation of, oh, I got to make the big leagues for it to be successful. Just enjoy doing what you like doing in life and be the best that you can and see where it takes you.
But before you came to the White Sox, you had a devastating knee injury, which knocked you out for the entire 1976 season. What went through your mind? How hard of a comeback was it? Did you think your career was over at that point?
Well, doctors were telling me that there's a chance that it could be over. I had a freak accident where I was going to buy a piece of property in Minnesota and build a house eventually, but we weren't making a lot of money back then, so I thought we'd buy the land first, and then maybe in the future, as my career progressed, we would build a home on it. And so I was showing some people the property and the car, because it was all under construction. The wheels got stuck in the sand. And so I said, well, wait here and I'll find a board or something to put out under the tires so we can get some traction to get out of the mess we were in. And about 15, 20 yards away was this board laying on what was going to be my future property, just laying there. And I thought, oh, perfect. So I reached over, and it was a pretty big piece of board. And I reached and I grabbed both sides, and I just didn't even think it was covering something because there was no signs or anything. And I just kind of took one step like this to the left to come back with the board, and I ended up going into an open storm sewer that was leading out to the lake. And in the fall, I hurt my left knee bad, and I also broke 4 ribs here. And that happened on Labor Day weekend in September, so obviously I missed the rest of that month of the 3 weeks of the season. And the doctors were saying that, it's pretty bad. After I healed from the ribs, then they had to operate on the knee, and it just never responded well at all. And so I had to have a second surgery in spring training the following year. And then I went down to the Nautilus Rehab Center on my own, and the Twins didn't want me to do that, but I did because they offered to train me and to get me back in top physical shape in exchange for if I would let them use all the filming to promote Nautilus, which was a new thing coming out on the market. So I agreed to that, and it turned out to be great for both of us because I got in better shape than I've ever been in my life. I put on probably 8-10 pounds of muscle without using steroids, and went on to have a pretty good year the following year, coming back pretty strong. Most home runs I'd ever hit was 12, I think, prior to that point, and then I went out and hit 25 for the Sox that year.
Southside Hitmen.
Southside Hitmen. What a great year that was. I mean, we were like the bad news Bears. Nobody expected us to do anything, and then to have a 5-game lead in late August, everybody was shocked, I think including us. But Kansas City, our rivals, just got so hot that last month. I think they went like 25-6 the last month or something. We went like 15-15 or something like that, and they went by us like we were standing still. But it was an exciting year. We set a record, I think, for the most home runs ever hit by a team. Up to that point, it's since got broken many times in the steroid era and stuff.
We don't count that.
Yeah, we don't count that, right? But it was just one of those magical years that it was just, everybody seems to have a magical year that they can remember. For me, it was 1977. Getting the opportunity to get away from the Twins. Not that I didn't like the Twins, but Calvin Griffith just was very tight with the money. I'm 5 years in the big leagues and still making $25,000 a year. And so I got to break away from that with the free agency. I was in that first free agency pool, and Bill Beck gave me $55,000, and didn't even know if I could come back and play or not. But he had heard that I'd been working very hard, and he sent some people down to the Wellness Center to check me out, and they said, "Man, he looks great," and so he signed me. And it was a good move for both. It turned out well for both of us.
Well, it was magical for us, too.
Well, that's nice of you to say that. Thank you.
When you were growing up, did you know you wanted to play baseball? Was it in your, or did you just catch fire thinking, wow, this is something I want to get into?
No, I think you hear, when you're young, you just hear people saying, "Oh, you're really good at that," or "Oh, man, you're getting picked first." When they're doing the old picking of teams and stuff, you always seem to be the first one picked, So just through that, you kind of feel like, okay, well, I do have some talent. And then my high school coach, Red Berry, out of Miami Coral Park, I was going to go out for the football team also, because a lot of my friends were on the team. And he pulled me into the office and he said, "Eric, I really don't want you to play football, because I do think that you have the potential to be a very, very good baseball player at a very high level." And so I took his advice and I stayed away from football, because there's a lot of injuries obviously in that sport, but I loved it. And then I stayed with baseball, and then it just kept getting better and better and better, and went to junior college in South Georgia. And we won the state championship 2 years in a row, and so it was well scouted. Lots of scouts came in to watch. And the next thing I know, I get a phone call in my dorm room from Sid Hartman of the Minneapolis Tribune or something. I can't remember the name of the paper. And he says, "Do you know that you were the #1 draft choice of the Minnesota Twins?" I said, "I was?" So and then boom, then the next thing you know, the scouts coming in, they're offering me $23,500. Here I'm making mom's sending me $5 a week, right? And they offer me $23,500 to sign the contract. I thought I was a millionaire, man. So I said, "Well, give me the pen before you change your mind," right? So I sign it, and then I get to spring training. I find out that the #2 draft choice got $39,000. So I kind of signed a little too cheap, but I didn't know any better. I didn't have any representation or anything. I was just excited to be the #1 draft choice, and excited that somebody would offer money to play a game that I was playing for free, that would love to play for free.
When you were growing up, who were your heroes? Because you've had such a successful career and everything you've done. Who were your heroes growing up?
Well, certainly I was a fan of the Yankees. Maris and Mantle battling for the 60 home run thing. That was pretty exciting as a kid. I got in trouble one time when I had the radio through the earplug in my ear. I'm in school, and the teacher said, "What's in your ear?" And then she finds out I'm listening to the World Series, And so I got a little bit of trouble for that. But as far as heroes go, I'd have to say my dad, I guess, more than anybody. I mean, he just, to me, represented unconditional love, and he represented what family's all about. Matter of fact, before he passed, he said, "Son, always remember, it's about family. It's about the love of the family." And I always remember that. And so to this day, I'm sure he's very proud of me for what I not only accomplished, but the fact that I have a beautiful family that is all on board, and we created SoderWorld together. That's where we're sitting here right now. And so, to answer your question, I think it's Dad. I think it's my dad. And I think for a lot of young men, their dads were their heroes.
I have to ask one silly question, but it's a question that everybody always wants to know. The famous shorts. Did you wear were you?
Well, that was in '76, and I signed in the winter of '76. But in spring training, they had us wear it a couple games, the shorts, and everybody was just complaining about it, and getting the bruises and the strawberries when you slide and stuff. And so they did away with it. But I did get an opportunity to wear it in spring training. But I was not on the team that wore them. Okay. In '76.
But you got at least to experience it.
I got to experience it, yeah. It wasn't fun, especially with my scarred up knees that look like road maps. It wasn't pretty wearing shorts, that's for sure.
Now, you brought up SoderWorld, which is exactly where we are now.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, actually, I have to give credit to my daughter, Misty. She's always been into spirituality and the healing arts and stuff. She became a massage therapist and just always liked doing that kind of work. So she wanted to go to school and enhance her education out at the school called San Diego School of the Healing Arts. And I said, fine, dude, you follow your dream, do it. And so she went out there. And after a short while, I got a phone call, and she said, Dad, guess who I'm working for? And I said, well, I have no idea. And she said, Deepak Chopra. And I said, who's that? And so that was really the phone call that got me on my spiritual journey, because ironically, the next day on Channel 11, he was on promoting his spiritual tapes and, all the books that he's written, many books. And so I just caught it on Channel 11, and I stopped and I listened to him, and he had this Indian accent that was kind of heavy, and I couldn't quite make out what he was saying, but there was something that he was saying was resonating with me. I wanted to listen more to what he had to say, so I went out and got his book called Perfect Health and a bunch of his other stuff, and his tape series called The Higher Self, and I just started listening, and then the next thing you know, I find myself getting into Wayne Dyer's stuff and Caroline Myss and Marianne Williamson, and I mean, just on and on and on. It was like my sleep pattern at 3 o'clock in the morning. I would wake up every single morning like I was set the alarm, just like clockwork, 3 o'clock, shortly after. And I would have a book by my bed, and I would turn on the light, and I would just keep reading these spiritual books and stuff. And eventually, the stuff that I was reading just kind of got to me. It hit me. I said, man, this is a whole lot better than what I was going through as a kid with the conditioning. Now, my folks are very strong Lutheran Christian people and beautiful people, but this seemed to go beyond that even, into an awareness that I was not aware of. And so it turned out to be great. It changed my life, and I just started practicing what I was reading. And then I started to teach Course in Miracles, and it just grew from there. And I got a phone call from Misty about a year and a half later, and she said, Dad, we've got to build a wellness center like Deepak Chopra has out in San Diego. People were flying in from all over the world to go to his place. And I said, well, I'm in the ticket business, and I was getting burnt out with the ticket business, so I just said, well, let's do this, but we don't have any business plan, anything. Let's just start small, and if it catches on, we'll just let this baby crawl and let it walk, and pretty soon, hopefully, it'll be running. So we opened up in a shopping center up here on Route 83 and 91st Street, not knowing if anybody was going to come, but we're willing to take the. Came back from California, and really was the momentum behind the whole thing, and I was more the financial support at that point. But then as the thing started growing, the people next to us went out of business, and so Misty suggested, why don't we grab that place and tear down the wall and create like a yoga studio and kind of combine the two things. And I said, okay, let's do it. And so then the people next to them went out of business, and so we ended up grabbing 3 spaces and created she wanted to create like a spiritual classroom for classes and stuff. So we did it. So now we got 3,000 square feet in this shopping center that had 5 units, and we're on a 5-year lease, and the landlord comes in about the 2nd month of the 5th year, and he says, well, it's obviously you're doing well, you're expanding. would you like another 5-year lease? And I said, well, yeah, I'm sure we'll continue on. He said, well, that's the good news. The bad news is that you own 3 of the 5 units that we have here, and so you're responsible for any major repairs we got to do three times now. He says, I got an old air conditioning and heating unit upstairs. I've got to change that out. They're raising my taxes, and I've got to raise your rent probably $200 to $250 per unit. And I go, wow, that's $600 to $750 a month more? I said, that would eat up all the profit, because this particular business was not created with the intention of it got to make money like my other place. Right. I used to own a company called Front Row Tickets for a lot of years, and that was about greed and how much money can you get, this and that. And I have now shifted my way of looking at things, and I didn't like ripping people off anymore. And so we just kept going, and all of a sudden, this lady walks in, and she was 20 minutes late for her appointment, and she said, I want my whole hour massage. I said, ma'am, you're like 20 minutes late. I said, we can't do that. And she said, well, this is why. And she slapped down directions to SoderWorld that were downloaded from MapQuest. And on MapQuest, it said, circle and an X. SoderWorld is located on Route 83 and Nielsen Lane. The X was right on Nielsen Lane. And I'm going, we're not on Nielsen Lane, we're on 91st Street. She says, yes, that's why I'm late. I've been driving down there on Nielsen Lane, and there's nothing but some houses and this wooded piece of property. And she said, the one lady, thank God, in the house said, I think it's in the shopping center up there. So I want my whole hour. I said, ma'am, you got it. We'll call MapQuest and get this straightened out. So she goes into her massage, and there's a guy sitting there in the lobby, and he's waiting to pick up his wife from her massage. And he comes up to the desk, and he says, Eric, he says, I overheard that conversation that you're having with that lady. And he says, I got to tell you, my company, Remax Realtors, is the listing agent for that property. And I personally have sold that property twice, and both deals have fallen through because it's a wetland piece of property. There's a creek running through the center of it, and there's a pond in the back, and they won't let you do anything with it except up in the front area here. He says, but that's maybe all you need. Sure. You know, a little area for a nice building, and then maybe someday they'll let you create some kind of Garden of Eden or some kind of beautiful thing you can do out in the back with landscaping or something, maybe someday in the future. And I said, boy, you know, that's a good idea. Let's take a look at that. So he hooked me up with the bank, and to make a long story short, they gave me the line of credit to make an offer. We offered the guy a low ball offer from what he wanted, and he accepted it because it had already fallen through twice. And I told my landlord, who told me he was going to raise my rent, and I told him that, hey, I could build the places for less than what you're charging me. And so lo and behold, we created SoderWorld from ground up, and the mortgage to the bank is like $5,200, and the mortgage to the bank over there in the shopping center was like $4,800. So for $400 more a month, I got this beautiful wellness center on this beautiful piece of property. And before, we had a shopping center that was beautiful on the inside but cold on the outside. So I'm a big believer some things are meant to be, meant to happen, and SoderWorld was meant to be created, and I think the universe just got behind it and put all the ducks in order and made things just happen. And I just was along for the ride and just kind of guiding the situation. And I'm so happy with now it's 20 years later, and people are coming here and experiencing great healings, and they're working and they're willing to work on themselves. They realize there's not somebody out there that's going to do it all for them. If you want to get healed and you want to feel that peace and joy in your life that it's your divine right to have, you got to do the work. You got to do the work yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. And so that's what we teach people here. And the whole center is about getting people to realize the importance of truth in their life and the importance of unconditional love in their life. And these are all ground principles I learned from my mom and dad when I was a kid that we now I realize that all that baseball stuff that went on was just giving me a platform for later in life now to create something where it can be really, really great for people. And all of that all that stuff I went through in my life, you see how this got me to this got me to this got me to this. And you can just kind of see how the puzzles in your life are just put together. And mine's been put together wonderfully, and I have a fabulous life, and I'm enjoying retirement. I wake up in the morning and where do I want to play golf today? And maybe, no, if I'm not going to play golf, maybe I'll go to my center and get a massage. You know, I mean, nice. That's a pretty nice life, and I'm so grateful and so thankful for it. But it wasn't just me. It was a collective energy of lots of people that helped build this and put this all together. But my life is fabulous, and I could die tomorrow knowing that it was just a great run. It was like an E-ride at Disneyland, man. It was just great. So.
With this facility, this beautiful facility, was it more of your daughter's design of how the rooms were going to look, or a collaboration?
My dad, believe it or not, used to build, when he was retired, A-frame dollhouses and sell them at the church. And so I'd come home from school and I'd see him in the garage, you know, carving away and doing his thing and building these A-frame dolls. And so he was the inspiration behind the design of this building. As a matter of fact, there's an angel out front with a plaque on the bottom, and it's a tribute to my dad, and it says just that. It's the inspiration behind this building came from him. And I feel his presence around here all the time. I mean, he's been gone since 2000, but he's a big part of this whole thing too.
And on top of it too, because you've been here helping people with the awareness, does that bring you a satisfaction, almost like, you know, just like, you know, being such a great parent and a family member, and now you're helping the community. You're almost like giving back, helping the people that didn't have an outlet or a place to go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I can attribute it to, I used to give hitting lessons as one of my businesses. And I remember Dad bringing his son, and he said that, look, I want him to be a baseball player. I'm not so sure he wants to be a baseball player, but I want him to be a baseball player. So he brought him the lessons. And so the first thing we did was I had him hit some, off a pitching machine, just kind of slow balls that were thrown in there. I had him swing, and he swing and miss at 10 balls in a row. And then I said, okay, we shut the machine off. And so then we went, all right, let's work on a tee, and let's talk about fundamentals. And so I kind of coached him through it, and he started hitting some balls off the tee and felt what it was like to make contact. I said, okay, and now I think you're ready. I put the ball in the machine. First pitch on the machine, hits a line drive back at his dad that was standing back by the pitching machine. And I never seen a kid. I mean, he literally was just ear to ear with smiles, you know. And I remember feeling my heart at that moment. It was just like, oh, that is really great to see a kid go from, I can't do this, and crying, you know, that he was embarrassing his dad or whatever, to now all of a sudden smiling and, okay, throw it in here again, you know. So to see that kind of change in one's perspective has really anchored into my energy field, and I love seeing that when people come to SoderWorld, and it happens daily, they just come and they say, thanks so much for creating this place. It feels like a second home here. It feels like I now have a place with my open mind that people will accept it and not say, you got to do it this way or you're going to hell, or you got to do it, don't eat fish on Friday, and don't do this and don't do that. All these rules and regulations. There's no rules and regulations. There's just be the best that you can be and enjoy the journey through life. Because you got to get to the point where you understand that you're way more than this physical body just sitting here in this chair. You are actually a beautiful spark of God. And everything, when you do things great and you do things well, you're just really giving glory to the Creator, you know, by being the best that you can be. And that's kind of what we teach here. And we try to teach people that there really is no separation between you and God. You're a spark of that. Just like the grain of sand is a part of the beach, just like the trillions of cells in your body are a part of what make up you, we are what make up this thing we call God. And so that's what, you know, we teach that here, and people seem to buy into that a lot better than, hey, you're going to go to hell if you don't believe this or you don't believe that. You know, I think people are, and that's all fear-based, right. You know, and I think people are now awakening on the planet to realize that they can move beyond fear. There doesn't have to be a fear of dying anymore. You're just here for a brief moment in eternity. And you are always going to be you throughout eternity. And if you want to come back and do the physical thing again, you can. If you want to go into other dimensions, you can. It's really bizarre when you really find out what this is all about, you know. Not those strict rules and regulations and the fear-based stuff that religion tends to bring. And religion has its pluses, obviously. It's community. It's people with like-minded getting together and socializing. So there's good stuff. And at the core of all religions really is about love. Where I have the issue with most religions is that the rules and the regulations, and you can't do this and you can't do that and stuff, and you know, it drives me nuts. So you come to SoderWorld, it's open mind, no rules. Let's look at what's going on in your life. Let's change your perception on how the way you're looking at it, and let's make steps towards improving your life and being a better person.
Well, you've emphasized family. Family is very important to you. I know when you played, your brother was also in the twin system.
Yeah.
You guys were both in the ticket business.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your daughter. So who else is involved with your family in this business? Is it just you and your daughter?
It's the whole family. My daughter, Missy, it was her idea, and she runs the massage school in the basement. And we do advanced training now for massage therapists that want to enhance their skills. My son, Chad, is very much into the creation of classes and things. He does ceremonies. He's had some shamans come in, and matter of fact, they're the ones that painted the wall back behind us. So he's very much involved. My wife is kind of behind the scenes. She does all the accounting. She's like a bookkeeper. And then even my granddaughter, Michaela, is now doing reception, and she went to massage school, and she's getting into massage, and she's working for the chiropractors. And so it is truly a family business. And it's not really, I don't even call it a business. It's just a family love fest is what it is here.
Actually, we feel that as we walked in. It's got there's a certain aura to the actual, just walking in, and you could feel a difference in the place.
Well, that's true, because it is all about understanding energy once you get this. I mean, if Michael Jordan walked through the door right now, it's a presence, an energetic presence that you go, oh, all of a sudden, no matter what you were doing, you're like all of a sudden there. And so when you walk into SoderWorld, you do feel that relaxation and that peace, that it's an energy that the whole building and the people in the building put out. And we're very, all of us are very sensitive to, there's sometimes you go to a party and you walk in and you run into somebody and you go, oh, I don't like being next to that. But then other people, you feel like, oh, I need to know more about you. And that's all because we've done this before. We've been connected before to certain people. You feel very close to some and distant from other, and because that person may have been a negative factor in your previous form. It's a challenge to come here and be in human form. It's not our natural state, and it can be very uncomfortable for a lot of people. And it's like the Harvard of the universe. The Earth is. It's like a great school of duality. Through all this contrast, you learn balance. How do you know what love is unless you've experienced hate? So you have to experience both sides of the coin to get into a space of peace and joy. So I kind of got it intellectually. I wanted to be it. I wanted to be authentic, and I wanted to do it effortlessly. Just know that you're a creator. You're a co-creator in this universe. So I'm gonna create something, but I'm gonna do it effortlessly. I'm